जय जय श्री राधे। सब वैष्णवों को जय श्री कृष्णा। श्री गोवर्धननाथ जी की जय, श्री गोसाई जी की जय, श्री ब्रजराम की जय। जय जय श्री राधे. Varta number 2, Krishna Bhatt, and beginning today with part 11 continued. Hearing these words, the two Vaishnavas were totally satisfied and very happy. Krishna Bhatt entered his Sri Thakurji's temple in order to accept back the Raj Bhog offerings as prasad. He offered the Lord some pan leaves and then opened the temple doors. The Vaishnavas were delighted to have his Sri Thakurji's holy site. Krishna Bhatt performed the arati, settled the Lord down to his afternoon rest, and came outside to offer prasad to the Vaishnavas. Afterwards, they said that they were going to set off for Gokul. Krishna Bhatt asked them why they were in such a hurry, since they had only arrived the same day. They replied that the reason for their visit had been fulfilled. Krishna Bhatt asked what that was, and they told him everything in detail. Krishna Bhatt begged them sincerely, and they stayed for 4 days. Whilst they were there, they all got together to discuss the Lord's pastimes, and the Vaishnavas felt most contented. The Vaishnavas then took leave of Sri Gosaiji and arrived back in Gokul in a few days. They bowed to Sri Gosaiji. He was pleased with them and thus asked them if their doubts had been allayed. The two Vaishnavas prostrated before him and replied, "O Maharaj, yes, our doubts have been allayed by your grace." After that, they would both attend the discourses with a single-pointed mind, and after the discourse they would go back home and continue the discussion. In this way, Krishna Bhatt was an accomplished Vaishnava, full of Sri Gosaiji's blessings. Part 12. At one time, about 20 Vaishnavas from far away came to stay with Krishna Bhatt. Where they had come from, those Vaishnavas had heard that Krishna Bhatt's Sri Thakurji directly asked for whatever he wanted to eat. That is why they had all come to Ujjain. They all greeted Krishna Bhatt with the Lord's name and sat down. It was the time to accept back the Lord's Raj Bhog offerings as prasad. Afterwards, they all had the holy sight of Krishna Bhatt's Sri Thakurji. Krishna Bhatt performed the Lord's arati and came outside. He invited them all to sit and partake of prasad. The Vaishnavas all bathed and sat down to take prasad. Some of them asked for more of certain preparations, and some of them praised certain items. They enjoyed eating the prasad. The Vaishnavas had heard, even from far away where they lived, that Krishna Bhatt's Sri Thakurji directly asked for whatever he wanted to eat. One Vaishnava piped up, "We have heard that your Sri Thakurji asks for specific preparations." Krishna Bhatt replied, "Have you not noticed how Vaishnavas are asking for specific dishes? Sri Thakurji lives in each and every one of their hearts. It is he who is asking for those preparations. From this you should understand that the Lord is asking for those particular preparations." Bhav Prakash. All of this can be known by those whose heart of hearts is tender, who is pure, and upon whom the Supreme Lord has showered his blessings. It cannot be understood by one who is not a vessel of grace. It is a very deep subject, hard to grasp. Krishna Bhatt Sri Thakurji, whom he serves, does not ask for whatever he feels like eating. Krishna Bhatt's Sri Thakurji, whom he serves, does ask for whatever he feels like eating. He also talks to Krishna Bhatt. Krishna Bhatt knows this, and so will one upon whom Sri Gosaiji showers his grace. Krishna Bhatt is such a recipient of grace and an accomplished Vaishnava. One night, Chacha Harivamshji and Krishna Bhatt were sitting in an isolated spot discussing the Lord's pastimes and attributes. This is part 13. Krishna Bhatt said to Chachaji, "A lovely fragrance is wafting this way." Chacha Harivamsji replied, "That stylish dandy Sri Krishna must have passed by. This fragrance can only come from the beloveds." Bhav Prakash. This story tells us that when Vaishnavas get together to discuss the beloved's pastimes, then they will definitely come there. Why? Because Sri Govardhanaji loves listening to the conversations of Vaishnavas. Part 14. On another occasion, Sri Gosaiji visited Ujjain, where he stayed in Krishna Bhatt's house. At that time, 10 or 15 Brahmins had gathered at Krishna Bhatt's house. They were all performers of Vedic sacrifices and rituals. They all asked Sri Gosaiji why Krishna Bhatt did not perform any Vedic rituals and why he threw away any vessel that they might have touched. "And oh, Maharaj, he is a householder, and so are we all. The manner in and according to which rules we bring up our children and deal with our families and our customs are the same as his. So why does Krishna Bhatt not join in with any of these? Thus the Brahmin inquired of Sri Gosaiji. Sri Gosaiji answered, Krishna Bhatt makes seva to Sri Thakurji, and these Vedic rituals and ceremonies prescribed for Brahmins might be neglected. However, in exchange for that seva, the greatest rishi of the Brahmins performs all of these on his behalf. There is a Sanskrit phrase, Taya karmaye kuruvanti tasya koti maheshwaraha. In other words, the great rishi performs the necessary rites for that Vaishnava Brahmin who makes seva to the Lord. You might ask why I engage in such rituals. Let me give you an example. There is a Brahmin boy. He had been invested with the sacred thread and taught how to perform the daily prayers called Sandhya, morning and evening bath, meditation and mantras. He has been made to perform such prayers at the correct times. It has been written in Vedic law that if he fails to do these prayers for a whole 7 days, then he becomes no better than a low-caste labourer. However, the great Rishi's opinion is that this boy should not fall to the status or be considered a labourer because, first and foremost, he has been invested with a sacred thread. For that very reason, the ones who invested him with that thread do perform their Sandhya prayers, and so the boy cannot possibly fall in status. Bhav Prakash. The essence of this is to understand that all the Vedic practices that Sri Gosaiji performs are solely for the sake of his disciples. Vaishnavas pass day and night in the seva of the Lord, and thus they neglect their Vedic rituals. Sri Gosaiji does these on their behalf. In his Sarvotam Stotra, Sri Gosaiji declared one name of Sri Acharyaji, Swadas Artha Kritashesha Sadhanaha. All practices that he performs are for the sake of his own servants. Swadasartha Kritashesha Sadhanaha. Therefore, if a Vaishnava who is serving Sri Thakurji does not perform all the required rituals, then this is in no way an obstacle. Seva of the Lord is the highest dharma. One can do these rituals when time permits. This is the way of the path of grace. Part 14 continued. He then said to the Brahmins, know when the morning has come. That is all he said. The Brahmins wondered what he meant by this. Krishna Bhatt asked Sri Gosaiji to explain the statement Sri Gosaiji told him. There is one big house. It is a dark night. In that house many can see the light of day, and many are blinded by the darkness. They will only see when the sun rises. The material world is like this. Only accomplished devotees can truly see, and only those who form a relationship to the Lord can leave the ways of this world far behind. Saying this, Sri Gosaiji went to take rest. Bhav Prakash. The teaching given here is that those who are ignorant are blind. Even things right under their nose are invisible to them. A wise person knows everything. They will even understand the meaning of the most esoteric scriptural teachings. The meaning of this phrase, know when the morning has come, is that when knowledge arises, then light enters the heart. Then everything automatically becomes clear. Seva to the Lord is such a thing. Before it, all worldly and Vedic considerations are simply petty. In this way, Sri Gosaiji taught Sri Krishna Bhatt that the essential glory of Seva to the Lord. Concluding here for today. Tomorrow we will continue with part 15, Varta 2, Krishna Bhatt. So, Sab Vaishnavan ko Jai Shri Krishna, Saprem Sadar Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Jai Shri Radhe.